This is dollars collected on the Y scale, right? So if you have a 0% tax rate, you don't collect anything, right? But also, if you have a 100% tax rate, you don't collect anything. Nobody works. There's no point, right? Why would you do hard labor if all of it's going to the government? I'm not working. And so the ideal tax rate is somewhere in here. We don't know where it is, actually. We don't know what the maxima of this is. It could be here at 20%. It could be here at 60%. But make no mistake, as you raise the taxes, people avoid the taxes. So your net dollars collected will start to go down after some point of no return. The question is, what is that point? So when taxes were 40% under Obama, you guys may remember, Allergan became an Irish company. I don't know if you guys remember this. And they tried to take Pfizer with them. Pfizer's a New York company for 150 years. And Pfizer was going to reverse merge into Allergan to stop paying taxes. So when you put taxes up high enough, companies do shit like this. They say, you know what? I'm a multinational company. I don't have any fucking allegiance to the United States. I have allegiance to my stockholders who pay my bonus. You think I give a fuck about a United States of America? I'm out of here. Give me to Ireland. And then you have Apple, where you could have an Irish company, okay, within another Irish company, and you guys might not know this, but this is called double Irish. Double Irish. And double Dutch, which, used to be a jump rope game when I was a kid. No, at 100, people stop working for taxes. Let me explain very clearly, Mr. Pep, because everybody, people avoid taxes. I don't know if you know this. There's one publicly traded company I follow my whole career really, really, really closely called Amgen, okay? Some call it Scamgen. When I'm mad at it, it's Scamgen. But Amgen, great company, American biotech heroes, right? You know how many people work in Amgen on the tax department? So people may not stop working, but they stop paying. Do you know how many people stop? Do you know how many tax people? Thanks, Cardist. I've done some things in life. So I'll show you a bunch of tax stuff in a second. Amgen has 1,000 people in tax. That is more than they have chemists. Okay? These people sit there all day and try to figure out how to not pay taxes. I'm not picking on Amgen. Every company's this way. The whole finance department, they're sitting there trying to figure out, how do I get the lowest tax rate I can without making it too low? In fact, if they wanted to, they can make the taxes they pay 0. But they don't, because they know that Bernie Sanders would be on that ass. Let me show you something. All right? Let me show you some crazy shit. You might not know this. This is, I don't know, this is more or less the United States of America as far as I know. Basically, this is New York, this is California, this is Texas, this is Florida. That's about it, okay? That's the map of the United States, according to Martin Shkreli. Okay, now here's Europe. This thing is the United Kingdom. I don't know, this fucking thing is Europe. Ireland is here. Switzerland is here somewhere. The Netherlands is here. You got your 3 crackhead Scandinavian countries here. And this is Russia. Okay, so that's basically the way I see things, all right? So I set up a Swiss company. And here, let me show you how tax transfer pricing works, okay? Let's say, you know what, you're a smart aleck, you're a liberal. You say, I'm going to raise taxes, U.S. corporate taxes will be 85%. It's going to be awesome. Okay, well, cool. Here's how it works before. This was under the 35% tax plan. Okay, my drug company says $1 billion of drugs in the U.S. That's my revenue. But here's the thing: I'm going to make the drug in my Swiss company. Okay, and so I want to show you my Swiss. This is 2025. Okay, so my Swiss, by the way, my Swiss tax rate is close to 0%. But here's my revenue. What's my revenue, guys? What's my revenue for the drug company? Well, I know my cost of goods sold. Okay, that's 50 million. It cost me 50 million to make the drug. It doesn't even matter where I made the drug, by the way. Okay, but I'm going to sell the drug I made to my United States subsidiary. Maybe it's my LLC. Okay, the LLC is going to buy the drug from my AG. Angeschloft. I don't even know what the word is, like Angelschaft, something like that, some German shit. And I'm going to sell the drug to my own company. Okay? This is called transfer pricing. Intercompany transaction. And I'm going to sell it for $600 million. What I made for 500. Okay. So now it's my revenue here. Well, I told you I'm going to sell the drug in the market for $1 billion, right? But what's my cost of goods sold? Cost of goods sold. Well, when I do my tax form, my cost of goods sold is not the 50 that it actually cost me to make the drug. What is it? What is it? It's the 600. It's the 600 that I paid the company subsidiary for. So my actual gross profit here is 400. Okay? And so now I have my SG&A, just my business costs, my research, all this stuff. I'll put that down as 300. So now I have my pre-tax income. It's 100 million. So what's my taxes? Well, under this regime, it's 35%. So my taxes are 35%. What's my net income? 65 million. So I'm paying the good old US of A 35 million bones in taxes. Makes me a decent sized taxpayer, to be honest. So $35 million to IRS. But over here, my gross profit is 550. It cost me about $5 million to keep a Swiss office open, if that. So my pre-tax is 545. I'll throw the Swiss government a bone and pay, 6% taxes. So my net income here is 515 million. My net income there is 65. Why? Because the taxes are 65 here and 6% here. All right, let's say the smart aleck liberal AOC says, let me give it an 85% tax rate. We're going to really stick it to these corporations. Cool, except this time I'm going to throw 700 instead of the 600 because I don't like you, AOC. So my gross profit ends up being 300. My SG&A is 300. My taxable income, pre-tax income, is 0. I broke even. So what do I pay in taxes? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And if I changed my mind and I kept it the same, the tax dollars I pay the US would go from 35 million to 85 million. Big whoop. I'm still making the 500 plus million in my offshore subsidiary. So this is how multinational companies avoid taxes. It doesn't matter what you put your corporate tax at. I'm going to pay what I want to pay, not what you ask. Why? Because I have a web of gigantic offshore companies. Apple does double Irish, double Dutch. I can put my patents in certain countries. You ever notice that? Companies put their patents in other places. I don't need to follow American law only. I operate in every country in the world. Why would I just follow American law? So the way you raise taxes, paradoxically, is to lower this rate. Do a 15% tax rate or a 20% tax rate, guess what happens? Doing all this bullshit is a pain in the ass. But every big company does it. So it's a lot easier to say, you know what? Just give me a 15% US tax. I won't even think about Switzerland or Ireland or Netherlands. What's the point? But in reality, this is the way it looks. It just creates a lot of waste too, because those 1,000 people at Amgen and the 2,000 people at Pfizer and the probably 10,000 people at Apple in the tax department all are figuring out how to avoid and get every dollar, out of the system that they can. And, however smart the DC politicians are, they're 1,000 times smarter. And I think that, unless you want to challenge the sovereignty of Ireland or Netherlands or the Caymans or every other country, what's interesting is Ireland has a 15% tax rate, but that's why you do the double Irish to get to zero. There's a company I know that literally paid negative taxes. Major S&P company, S&P 500. But you get that double Irish. Swiss is nice because you don't have to do any of the double tricks and you pay a low tax rate. And you need to do business in the EU, right? Somehow. So raising the tax rate to 85%, I explained to my friend Quest, that would actually hurt tax collection. You would actually lower tax collection. You can Google all this stuff to see what the double Irish is, but it's an Irish company within an Irish company. It's an Irish company that owns another Irish company. Tariffs are a partial solution. They're a partial solution to the problem, yes. Possibly. But tariffs have a lot of unintended consequences, too. And there's so many more tricks. Like I said, you can have something called a patent box, and there's all kinds of things that you can do to avoid taxes. I mean, it's not hard when you have 1,000 people. But I think that the systems that are in place to avoid taxes are just, staggering. And the pressure the U.S. will put on Ireland or other countries to stop it from happening, well, they can't tell a country how much taxes to have, they're going to have. Yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah, when they did the repatriation, there's a lot of ways to repatriate, but Trump just allowed repatriation without penalties. Yeah, there's all kinds of taxes you could do. The problem is every tax you add on corporations, it ultimately, to me, this is fungible. So whether you tax the corporate level or the individual level, it's all at the end of the day, it's all going to the same pocket.